when we look back and see which talent made it to a professional at the end, it always reduces you to the same abilities.
Which are?
Being hungry, having problems in losing, invest everything in winning, but you cannot always win. David Alaba, chapeau, because every 3 days in this level performing at your best, some are not made for this. You can't be prepared. You think you're prepared for this, what happened, but you are not prepared.
So can you give us some insight how a negotiation takes place for a contract?
On the numbers, the duration, of course.
What advice would you give to young football players?
You need this inner drive. If I want to run through this wall, I will run through this wall. These people will be successful in football, will be successful in life.
A hard question is gonna come to you now. Who is your most favorite player from the current squad?
Oh, it's tough. But I'm really happy we signed.
Manuel, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate that you found the time. I know that you're a busy man.
Yeah, welcome. I'm happy to be invited and I'm curious what's happening.
Let's start with your childhood and what inspired you to start playing football?
This is a good question because it's that far away. so many years have gone. I don't know. It's not that I was surrounded by so many people playing football, but I grew up in the countryside. So I had a lot of spare time, a lot of nature around. And not far away was the farmhouse of my grandparents. And there were big gates. And I think this was the first we started, kicking the ball against those gates, was like the goals. And yes, then it started growing and growing and growing. And of course, we had a football club around in my hometown. And one of the chairmen was my uncle. And we saw that there was no under 10. And me and my friends and my cousins, we went to him and he had a chat about it. And we asked him if he could found an under 10. And some month later, we started playing in the club.
That's how it started.
That's how it started, exactly.
So did you have the full support from your family?
Yeah, of course, always, because my father was, of course, playing football in the club.
Okay.
I was always on the field weekends, running around. Watching him as well, of course, because he was playing like a number 10, a typical, I would say right now, like an Austria Wien number 10, a bit of a kind of a diva, what I can remember, but he was a very good player and, of course, a little bit inspiring.
That's awesome. So you played for 3 clubs in Bundesliga. That was SV Ried, then Austria Kärnten, and Austria Wien.
Yes, in between was FC Superfund, it was Pasching.
Okay.
Pasching in Austria Kärnten, it was only one contract because it was a funny thing in Austrian football because the Landeshauptmann from Carinthia, Jörg Haider, it was 2008 and they were creating this nice stadium, the Wörthersee Stadium, because of the Euro 2008. And he drove to Pasching and he was asking the president, Franz Grad, if he could have the license because he wants to see Bundesliga football in Carinthia. And he asked him if he can buy the license. And it was like a joke in media and in the newspapers. But it ended like the president, he sold him the license. And we, the players who were under contract, we had to move down to Carinthia. So I never signed a contract for FC Austria Kärnten, but I played 2 years for them. So I had to move down. Yeah. So I played for 4 clubs, but I only signed for 3 clubs.
And what are the best moments that you remember from each club?
From each club, I think Ried was because I was born in Ried and 10 kilometers away. Ortemingres is where I grew up. This was my first club I was supporting because it was, of course, the most famous club in the area. They did some success stories in Cup. They got promoted to the first Bundesliga. And of course, as a child, I was crossing my fingers for them. And when I moved to school to Ried with 16, I also moved to SV Ried as a child to the under 16. And then my career started in the next level, to be honest. I got an invitation to the under 18 national team. And I spent 8 years for SV Ried, and it was my club, if you say it like this. Okay. Yes, and then when we got relegated after 3 years playing Bundesliga, I got the offer from Pasching, and I was ready to move on to the next chapter. But with Ried, I would say it was that I had my first appearance in Bundesliga. This is always something very special. I had my first invitation to a national team, which I would also say this is also always something special, because when you are among the 18 or 20 best footballers in your age for your country, yes, even Austria is not that big, but anyway, we have 9 million citizens. This is something special you can really be proud of. So this is something I really, look back with good memories. This was, Ried. Was not so happy was, of course, when we got relegated and went down to second Bundesliga. But it was not that funny at that moment. But that's part of life.
And what about the next club now?
With FC Superfund, it was like a best of Austrian football players. When I look back, I think we had a team with around 5,000 Bundesliga games, because the who is who of the Bundesliga was playing for FC Superfund. I could learn a lot because I was still 23, 24 years old. So playing with those experienced players was very important for my career. And we played a very good role in the Bundesliga. I think we became vice champion. We had really, really good games. There's nothing special I could figure out as a memory, but I think it was very important for me as a player to learn from those experienced players.
Shaped your character in a way.
Yeah, because I would say from my character side, I always was a very humble and a decent player. It was also a problem in the beginning of my career that I was even a bit shy. And I think there I learned to grow, because the first 4 months were not very easy. I came with more than 100 Bundesliga games to FC Superfund, but on my position was a player. Everybody said he will have no chance because he's one of the players that the coach loves most. So it's going to be very tough to kick him out of the starting 11 and you will be play. And this showed how you really have to work really, really hard for success. And I was training like a beast.
Okay.
I was really training like a beast. And after 3 months, I kicked him out and I was playing.
Nice.
Yeah. I had games in the second team, in the third league. And it looked like, it was the biggest fault in my career that I moved to FC Superfund. But I didn't give up.
Okay. That is the most important.
I trained like an animal. And this was important for my career to learn from this experience. And helped me a lot to grow as a personality, because I would say right now when I talk to younger players, it's not only important your football skills. I would even rank it like even. It's also important to have those personality on the field. A perfect example, if you ask me, is Jude Bellingham.
Yes.
I heard when he was 16 and he moved to Dortmund, everybody was saying, even in the summer period, in the preseason, he was already the natural born leader when he came there with 16 or 17 years. He was the chef, the boss on the field.
And it didn't start then.
Exactly. That's why the earlier you realize it's that important to be even a personality on the field, it will help your career, of course. And this was the part in my career that was that important when I played for Superfund. And then I had to move to Carinthia. And there it was fun because when we opened the stadium, we had the first game against Austria Wien. Okay. Also a funny coincidence. The stadium was full, I think with 25,000 spectators and fans in the Wörthersee Stadium.
You don't see that anymore.
Not really. When we now play again there, I think
it was around 3,500.
It's a bit pity, to be honest, to see such a nice stadium with so less fans, because I would see all the stadiums full, like in different countries, for example, Germany or Premier League. Every stadium is full, and here in Austria, I think there's a lot more space to fill those stadiums. But this was one of those nicest games because we won. We had a victory 2-1, I guess, and the 2-1 header came from me. So the goal that we have won came from my side, and it was funny because it was my club that I was supposed to go 2 years later. So it was a very nice experience. Good time.
Now coming to Austria Vienna. Would you agree with me that the best, your highlight of your career would be the championship?
Yeah, of course. But it helped a lot that, especially the time in Carinthia, I was in the stage of my career that I became a leader in the team, on the field. This was where I really could develop my personality. And of course, this helped for Austria Wien, because this is one of the biggest clubs here in Austria. And when it comes to the nicest memory, of course, for Austria Wien, and when now look back, is to become champion, even to become champion in Austria, being the captain to lead the team to the championship. was very special, because if I would have looked back 10 years earlier, I would have expected to raise the title in front of 10,000 fans at the Rathausplatz. This is really something special, because nice memories. And of course, afterwards that we played Champions League, and we qualified. This was for the group stage.
For the first time,
Yeah. It was awesome, of course. But to be honest, I don't look back too much. Even in my apartment, I have no pictures, nothing. So if you would visit me right now in our apartment, you will see nothing that picks towards football.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Interesting. And how did you approach your role as a leader?
I think I have it in my DNA as well. Like you have to work on it. When I started to become a pro in the first team in Ried, and we had those away games, I was sitting in the bus next to Oliver Glasner. Okay. And it was funny for me, because I finished school and the other players in the back were playing with cards or different things they were doing. And Oliver, after 20-25 minutes, he had a look at his backpack, and then bam, he took all those scripts and everything he got from the study. And I said, "Hey, Oliver, what are you doing?" He said, "Yes, I'm studying. It's at Fernuni Hagen, the biggest Fernuni university we have here in Europe, because you never know with the career in football, you have to think about life after football." And I was sitting and I said, yes, I'm 20, and very wise words. Maybe I should also think about my career, even it's maybe 15 years away, or maybe it's a year away, because if you get a big injury and you have to finish football,
the sooner you start, the better.
It's getting sooner than you think. And he was really influencing me, because he was the captain of SV Ried. He was very eloquent. He was smart. He was the perfect role model as a captain, and he inspired me a lot. And he was a team player as well. So he was also very modest and where he came from, but he also had this winning ability in his DNA. And this inspired me a lot and helped me to develop my personality. And maybe at my peak, I was the captain of Austria Wien, and I could really leave all my aspects of my personality at the least. And Oliver Glasner also said, you should work with a consultant helping your personality. He's called Werner Zöchling. I can really recommend him. Start your sessions. And this is what I did. And then even right now I'm working with Werner Zöchling. We are, of course, very close friends. And he was helping me shaping my personality, which is very, very important if you ask me. I would always say to younger players, it's not only about football, it's also about your personality, and you're building the personality in football for life after football.
Yes.
This is the truth.
And at the same time, you can really use this time that you have outside of sports.
It's the best life experience you get, this professional football. Even if you don't make it, this is also a very important experience, I think, because we have a very lot of talented football players in our academy, but at the end, 3 to 5% only make it to become a pro.
Yes.
What about the other 95%? I think they can learn a lot for their future life.
Which is the reality that you said.
That's percentage. That's stats. It's mathematics. It's not something I say, 3. No, it's mathematics.
And I always make sure that I make the athletes aware that you don't start from zero out there, because you have all these kind of abilities that you developed throughout your career.
Especially all those soft skills you learn in football. I think when it comes to economy and hiring people in economy, they're always looking forward to people having those soft skills you learn and get taught in football. So being hungry, being humble, be a team player, all those soft skills you learn from as a child from football. Everybody who's leading a company would say, I would like to have those employees having those soft skills.
Absolutely. So the fact that you were the captain of Austria Vienna led you to represent your national team of Austria.
Yeah.
So I think that is the dream that every young athlete has. You made it happen for 9 times. And I would like to tell me, how did you feel about it, representing your own country?
I think I figured it out even some minutes before, that it's always special being among the best players for your country in your sports, because there are different sports, of course, not only football outside. I could have never dreamed of maybe reaching these goals, but at the end it doesn't really matter. But the first time playing for Austria in the senior team was, of course, very special. It was a tournament in Switzerland. I got substituted. I came in for Emanuel Bogadets, who I'm also very close to, and he had a great career. I think I came on the field 83rd or 84th minute. But at the end, a dream came true because I played in the senior level for my country. It was very, very special. I had a lot of invitations, I think 30 to 40 invitations for the national team. But most of the time I was sitting on the bench because the colleagues playing on my position, they were really, really good players, from Emanuel Bogadec, Martin Stranzl, Hinteregger, Dragovic. It was always the who is who of the Austrian footballers. They were very good center defenders, but I could learn a lot even in the training sessions. And I was always happy when I got invited to the national team, even when at the end, after 10 days, I didn't play. But even training with those boys, David Alaba, was something very special in my career.
Would you have liked to be nominated or called more often to the national team?
I think 37 times or 38 times. Yeah.
So you were satisfied? Could have been more, but
of course it could have been more. One of my goals was it was at the end a 2-digit number of really caps I played. At the end it was 9 times I played for Austria. My goal was at least to make 10 games, but it is what it is. You always have to set goals.
Absolutely.
I'm very humble and happy about the career. It could have been a better career, of course. But right now, I don't look too much back, and I don't focus too much on what happened in the past. I try to live more in the present and try to create my future.
Absolutely, and we cannot change the past anyways. We can learn from it.
I'm always a music addict, and in younger days I was a rave child because I was really into this electronic music because it was new, and I can remember I was wearing a shirt, a rave shirt, and there was one of those quotes on it. It said, "The past and kiss the future," and I use this quote very often because you can't change the past. And I heard this speech of Roger Federer when he said, "Yeah, you have to take the last point, and because you can't change the last point." And this is the truth. You cannot change the past. You create the future with your actions in the present.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Yes, 100%. So
it sounds so easy, but it's
not easy, but it's an attitude. So we spoke about success. Now, could you please tell me or share with me what was the toughest moment that you had during your career as a football player?
The toughest moment happened even before my career, because when I was 13 and I had the first invitations to more regional selections. So I played for an Innviertel-Auswahl and things like this. So I already started even with my small town club, Ort im Innkreis, TSV Ort is the name, that I got invited for those selections. They saw that I'm a talented player. I had those issues with my ankle, with my spoon, because of growing. And one of those doctors had a look at it because I always had pain after every training session, even couldn't walk like this. I was walking on my toes, always walking on my toes after because I had so much pain. And then we went to one of those doctors in Ried, and he said, "Yeah, it looks like your body is not made for football." And this was really shocking to me because I was 13 and the doctor is telling you that the thing you love most in your life, because playing football in this stage was something I loved most, of course. Yes. And he told me, "Yeah, your body is not made for playing football." And I was like, wow. So to be honest, if I look back, this was the toughest moment in my career that even hadn't been a career. The funny thing is, 20 years later, I was raising the trophy in front of 10,000 fans in Vienna. So it's mindset. Yeah, because it's about mindset.
You not deal with something like this. You don't.
That's true, but it was something I had in my inner side. You know what I mean? Yes. And this was my toughest moment. Everything else happening afterwards, that your career is not a straight line. This is something normal. And I already had the luck that I was working with Werner Zöchling, and he gave me good company, perfect advice. A lot of challenges I had to do. I remember when I became a young player in Ried and I had my first Bundesliga games, everyone was driving a club car, yes, except me. And I was, as I told you, a very humble and decent person. And I said, no, I had only 5 games. I cannot ask the president, because he was also the owner of the...
Okay. You had to ask the president to get a car.
And he said, you go to the president and you ask him that you also should get a car. And I said, I was sweating everywhere. No way, no chance. I'm fine with my 10,000 euro car. Yes. It was a very old, 20-year-old red Peugeot. It was an ugly car those days, but I was okay with it. And he said, no, this is one of those challenges because I know it's tough for you, but you will only grow as a person when you do those things that are tough for you. And I went in and it was okay at the end.
You took it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Funny, huh?
Yes. So, what I take from that is like just go for it.
Yeah, the thing is, I also tell younger players when they come to my office and we talk about football, I always say, at the end of the day, if you want to grow as a person, you have to do, not only in football, even in private life, do things, it's tough. Should I not? Should I talk to my wife, my girlfriend, my parents about this topic that isn't easy for me to talk? Do it.
Yes.
And at the end and afterwards, you will see, and you grow another millimeter. You grow. And this is how you grow as a person.
Because growth comes when you challenge yourself, when you are out of your comfort zone.
And you can read hundreds of books about personality. At the end of the day, I also read a lot of books, but I would sum it up with, do those things. It's not easy for you right now, but you should do it. This is
100%.
my biggest learning in my life so far.
So would you say, because I would like to ask you, what was your biggest lesson throughout your professional career?
My biggest lesson, I think it was at the last stage of my career, my biggest lesson, because I had one or two coaches and I was always playing, like, thanks God, I was nearly always playing. From one day to the other, I had a coach, I was not playing anymore. I was the captain of Austria Wien. And I think this was the biggest and greatest learning. Even I had those career and I think I had my standing. I couldn't affect that I play. And my learning was, you cannot control everything in your life. Some things happen for a reason. And at the end of the day, you're not the pilot. You're sitting in the back of the airplane. You're a passenger.
Yes.
And some things you can control. But what you can control how you deal with it.
Yes.
And I remember when from one day to the other, I was not playing anymore in the team. And I was even not in the game day squad. I was, like I told you, in Pasching, in Superfund. I was training again like a beast. And I had one player, he was a Norwegian national team player. And when he left in summer, he said at the end, he gave me a hand and said, you know what, Orti? With your attitude, you inspired me every day. This was the biggest compliment I ever received in my career. And especially, I received the biggest compliment in my career when I had the toughest moment in my career from the sportive side.
Yes.
And this is something I learned a lot of.
So you were dealing with something, but you inspired at the same time someone else.
That's awesome. It made me think a lot, but yeah.
You gave me a great pass because we spoke a little bit for the end of your career. So how did you face retirement? Because it's a big thing for all athletes out there.
The good thing is I started it 12 years earlier to think about the end of your career. What I can see right now, because I give company, of course, to players that also are getting into this stage and over this stage, and I see how they struggle. I prepared it in a different way because when I finished my career with 35 in the Bundesliga with Austria Wien, I was discussing with my wife, what should we do right now? Should we go abroad for an adventure? Because we had no child at this time. And I was negotiating with a club in Australia and with a club in Miami. So in the MLS, but in the second league, in the NLS. It was the former club of Inter Miami. It was Fort Lauderdale. Also very funny. But in this stage, my wife at the end became pregnant. And then we said, no, we don't want to go abroad because we also want to have our grandparents seeing our child grow up. And then Austria Wien gave me the offer to play in the second team. Plus the vice president at this time, Raimund Harreter, who is always pushing educating football players. He asked me if I want to help him leading a project called Viola Fit at Austria Wien. So I'm the project leader because he has not that time. And it would be perfect, the stage of my career, that I'm the project leader. And this project was about education and development. We offered a lot of education programs for players, for staff members. And so I had the possibility to continue my career, but to let it fade out. I was even the captain of the amateur team. So football became less. And on the other side, with Viola Fit, becoming a project leader, get the first responsibility for a project. And besides, I was asked from Sky Sport Austria to become a TV pundit. this also helped me a little bit because I was still in the football process in the Bundesliga. And beside, I was asked from a startup to become the senior vice president when it comes to marketing. So I was also in the startup scene, and it was a funny and interesting period in my life because there was so much going on.
They have 24 hours.
And so many projects. But I was the boss of my schedule, of my calendar. And I had fun to deal with so many different projects. I also founded with Viktoria Schnaderbeck and Basti Brödel and Dominik Kollinger this project called Be The One. We were pushing those female football thing, which I also happy because those days when I look back, it was very important that we push female football. I think now it goes on it's going on a very good direction. And there was a lot going on in my life. I was trying a lot, to be honest, because as a football player, you don't know where you see yourself in the future. What is the right place where you find yourself, and you can even push the things forward. And I think it helped me a lot that I could figure out, where do I see myself in the future?
That's the best approach.
I'm not afraid of trying different things. I have a lot of things I still want to do. I was also pushing my photograph thing because I always loved to take photos. It was always a good thing apart from football, doing different things like studying or taking photos. I was also very into art. I always went to museums. I think it's very important as a football player that you even have things apart from football, because if you're only dealing with football, there's a saying in German, it's like, auf einmal siehst du vor lauter Bäumen den Wald nicht mehr. And this is very often in football. So I'm a fan of open the box, thinking out of the box, and I think even try to do it right now in my position.
I think it helps also to create an identity outside of sports by having other interests and not just being the football player.
When I now look back to some interviews and see what I said and what journalists were writing about me, I think they had exactly those view about what I am. It was nothing that, no, this is a wrong picture they are painting. No, the picture that the people were painting about me was, I think they hit it. Yeah.
So now let's talk about your role as sporting director. You came to Austria in 2021.
21, yes.
And in terms of progress, where was the club when you arrived?
From the financial side, it didn't really change. So we had those big issues. I didn't apply as the sports director because I had all those projects in my life, and I was, to be honest, very happy. I was already done with Sky to prolong my contract for another 4 years. I also wanted to do this UEFA MIP study. This was on my agenda, but then Austria Vienna, they called me and were asking me if I could imagine having those role and have those issues. And what I learned in the startup scene is like, you have no money and have to be very creative with no money. And of course, Austria Wien is my club. This is even all those aspects, and what Austria Wien stands for is very similar to how I see life, to be very liberal and open. Yeah, and at the end, I didn't really thought too much about it, because if you think too much about it, I think I wouldn't have done it.
Yes.
Because I had no experience in this role. I had my ideas, because 10 years before I even showed Markus Kretschmer how I think. It was funny because 10 years before I wrote some concept about how I would see Austria Wien in the future. And 10 years later, Austria Wien really called me. And then I started thinking about what can we do to make this club with those issues, to give him a completely new picture, a younger picture, more progressive. And then I said, let's give it a try. And then I did it.
Cool.
Yeah. It was crazy the first month.
I can imagine.
It was really, really crazy.
Because there are responsibilities, a lot of responsibilities.
Yeah. First of all, I had to cancel all my other projects. It was also not funny because people were having, we had a good relationship with him. Yes. They relied on me that we can push them further. But at the end, it was too seducing to give it a try. Yes. And now in between, but the first month were not so funny, to be honest. Even for my family, it was very stressful.
It's a big transition.
Exactly.
So
But it helped me to have all those projects. I told you before that I think I'm a person that I have no problem with working.
Okay.
Not as a football player. I was always hardworking, always till my last day, my career, always. This is even how I tried to, or we tried to raise our child. because I hate when people are lazy. And I hate when people are always yelling and something. I hate
Negativity.
it. I hate it.
Yes.
To be honest, I hate people that are always yelling and complaining about. I hate it, and I hate when people are lazy.
I think it's so much easier when you are positive. Life is getting so much easier.
Exactly. And the biggest challenge right now is to raise my child, to be honest. But this helped me a lot surviving in this role, because Austria Wien is sometimes I would say a complicated club. But I'm not thinking too much about club politics, about my role. I never think about, hey, you're sports director of Austria. Never, ever. Not one day I think, it's nice, you're sports director of Austria Wien. Not one day I thought about it. Just try to help building a good future for the club. That's all. And the day will come that I'm not anymore in my position. A different man will take over, and of course, this is normal.
So how does your day look like?
First of all, I bring my boy to school. 7:45 is the time we wanna pop up in school.
But it's not the time you wake up.
No. But it's not that I wake up at 5 o'clock because I need sleep. The alarm is set at 6:55. But at 7 we have to jump out of bed, and then we are very quick. The three of us, we are really very quick. It's a cool scheme we lived. Our boy is great in the morning, so the alarm is ringing and he's jumping out of bed and he's. So it's really cool that he knows what to do in the morning. And then I drive to the stadium. It depends from the traffic, but around 8:25, 8:20, 8:25 in the stadium. Normally in the morning I check some mails, go through some newspapers, online newspapers, and then I went to the office of the first team coaches, because this time they're already here, talk about things that are happening. And then my day starts, the routine, everything that's going on. It's so much, and I don't know where to start, to be honest.
So let's talk about recruitment, starting by the youth development and the Academies 11 that you have in Austria Vienna. So tell me a little bit what it's about.
This was one of those ideas I had in my head, because it was not common that you give away contracts in academy level. I would say 10 years ago, it was like a gentleman agreement that players in the academies here in Austria will stay in the academy. So you don't grab players from another academy. This was a gentleman you don't do. But at the end, I think Red Bull Salzburg started breaking this gentleman agreement. Then next was Ried, and then everyone was doing like this. Even they were hunting for young talents. Then we also were saying, hey, we should give away young perspective contracts. This was the name we gave them when the project was called Academies 11. So the best 11 young talents we see right now in the academy, we give them a contract to show commitment. Hey, we want to intense working with you.
We believe in you.
We believe in you, of course, and we want to intense the work with you with extra work, extra analysis, and everything that's helps you becoming a better player, like an individual development plan. And I think it's very important, because nowadays the young players, they have to get an honest feeling that you commit to them, you believe in them, to show them a path that they can make a career within the club, to maybe one day fulfill the dream playing abroad somewhere. And this was, I think, very important that we founded this project, and I think they are very happy, the boys, with this project.
Let's talk about the men's team. How does the recruitment process take place? Now you have the winter transfer period.
Yeah.
What are the ideas behind it? How do you prepare yourself?
Yeah, always when it comes to there's a need on a position, it's like a stage plan. First of all, we always have a look at, can we find the player we look for in our academy? So first look is to a homegrown player. The next step we do is, let's have a look for a under 23 player in Austria. The next look is having under 23 player abroad. The next look is having an international player here in Austria. So because you know him better because he's playing in the league. And the last step is having an international player from abroad. So this is the steps we always do first.
Very nice, interesting also.
Yeah, but I think this has to be the planner. If we would not leave it like this, I think Our youth players in the academy, they don't see the strategy and would not believe in this strategy. And when I have a look right now at the first team and you see that a 16-year-old can play in the center midfield, if you ask me, this is something very, very special that we believe in young players.
Absolutely. Because back then it was not the case.
No, not really.
Do you look for specific qualities as a human being, not as an athlete?
Yeah, of course, Bernhard Zöllring is also involved right now in the club, but we have other physiologics, within the club that are specified on those soft skills, all those abilities apart from their football skills, because when we look back and see which talent made it to a professional at the end, having more than 400 games in his career, it always reduces you to the same abilities. It's funny. They're always the same abilities.
Which are?
Being hungry, having problems in losing. And I always have to smile when I see our son now is 9, but when we were at the playground and children are playing, then I always hear from parents, yeah, you have to learn lose when you lose. And I always think, you have to learn to lose? No, you have to learn to win. You have to accept that you sometimes lose. And I think this is very important. Absolutely. Because it was du musst lernen, das Verlieren muss man auch lernen. Und ich denke mir, and I think, no, you don't have to learn lose. Learn to win. Invest everything in winning, but you cannot always win. Yes. When you lose, you have to accept it. As I told you before, when I was not playing as a captain, I couldn't change it because I cannot say I'm in the starting 11. As a player, you don't have the skill to say I'm in the starting 11. But you can, of course, how you deal with it. This is you can influence.
And I like the quote that says, you might not win all the time, but when you lose, you can learn. And you don't lose, actually.
Exactly. Bravo. This is a very good saying, of course.
So when I ask you, when it was more stressful, was it when you were a football player or now as a sporting director?
Of course, now.
Now you have more pressure.
No, of course. Now, pressure. I don't feel pressure, to be honest. I saw more pressure when I was standing on the field because even as a defender, when you make a mistake, very often this mistake leads to that you receive a goal. So the pressure is high because there are fans are sitting outside, people having expectations, you have your own expectations, media is talking about you. But to become a pro, you have to learn to deal with it. So resilience is very important. I saw even when I played for the Austria Amateur and I played in Regionalliga Austria, there are so many talented players, but they do not have the skill in resilience playing in front of 20, 30,000 people.
Yes.
And this is very important to be a pro. There are a lot of good football players, but to become a pro, you have to deal with it. I was in Madrid because when my father became 70, I said, you can, I give you a football journey, choose wherever you want to go. And he said, Madrid would be nice. I said, yeah, of course, let's fly over. And I asked David Alaba for tickets. It was the game when he had his big injury. Crazy. I was sitting in the stadium and saw him suffering having this injury. But what I wanted to say is, David Alaba, I really chapeau, because playing for the biggest club in the world regularly, and it looks like it's the most normal thing in the world. And I know it's so tough being a pro, and every week, and he has it, for example, not right now because he's injured, but every 3 days in this level, performing at your best. Wow, chapeau, this is something really special to me. So he's the biggest player we ever had in the history of Austrian football. And I think there will never ever be another player having this career.
The pressure is high.
It's crazy and insane. And I think this is the biggest ability you have to learn to be a pro, to deal with those pressure. This is the biggest ability.
But how do you learn it? By doing it?
Yeah, doing with it. And I would also say some are not made for this. This is also
for me, it was hard to play in front of so many people, for example, and they have the tools in the young age.
But I always say not everyone is made for this.
Yes,
it sounds very hard. It sounds really hard. I could also tell you now everyone could become a pro, and no, it's not the truth. This is one of my learnings after my career, even in my position right now. No, not everyone is made being a football pro at the highest level, and I would also say not everyone is made to be in leading positions in companies. It's the same.
Yes.
Some are better when they're not in the leading position. you have to bring some abilities. If not, you're not made for this position, which is not a big deal if you ask me. But this is the biggest learning. Not everyone is made at the end.
Mm-hmm. And how do you approach?
It's very often very tough for the parents.
Yeah, but
I will never ever tell them.
Yes.
But I see sometimes parents have more issues with this fact than the children.
Yeah.
They don't become a pro because they're still playing football, and you can study or do whatever besides football. But very often for the parents, it's the biggest failure in life that their child that is so close to be a pro doesn't make the last step. And so often it's the fault of the coach, of the sports director, of the agent. They're changing the agents, and I was, oh my God, what's going on?
It's always harder to deal with parents that they don't have the football background.
I feel always sorry for their child.
Yeah, it is true.
Always sorry for the child.
To the child.
Exactly.
Yes. So about tough decisions now, because it's a position that you have to take decisions. How do you approach them?
Yeah, it wasn't easy because I had to make a lot of decisions. Of course, I also had to fire people in my role. And I would say from my natural DNA, I'm a philanthrope.
Mm-hmm.
But it's part of the job, as I said.
Yes.
You have to deal with it, to learn with it. I had those challenges in my younger stage, in the first stage of my career, and it's part of the job.
For me, as an outsider, and you can tell me what you think. For me, firing Manfred Schmidt was for me a very tough decision to make.
Yeah,
and that's how it felt as an
outsider.
It was. So how was it for you? All this
very tough. And now what I told you.
Yes.
If you're made for this position or not, you can see or figure out in those moments. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's easy. We are third in the table. We are ranked third. It looks very stable, everything. Now it looks easy, and it's funny because now I receive a lot of text messages after the game. And 1 or 2 months ago, there was no message after any game. And I do the same job every day. I always do the same job. I always try to give my best every day. So now it's like, yeah, now you do a good job. And I say, yeah, but I do the same what I did the last 3.5 years. I never did something else. This was, of course, it was like a test, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I even learned a lot out of this because it was right. But dealing it, you can't be prepared. You think you're prepared for this, what happened, but you are not prepared. And I think it helped a lot. And yeah, I learned a lot out of it, of course.
And of course, as you said, in summary, it was a little bit of, I read an article that was written like there is a crisis in Austria Wien, but now you're in third place.
Yeah, this is the weird thing about football. Yes. When it comes to, especially those discussions about, is the trainer still the right trainer or is he not? I think it's not so important on where you're ranked right now. Of course it is for the people outside, but when you have the feeling and you see the work the coach and his team puts in, and you see, hey, the development goes to the right direction. At the end, it doesn't really matter if you are in this journey 3 or 4 weeks ranked 6 or 7 or 8. It doesn't really matter, because if you believe in the long journey, he's the right person.
Yes.
And if you don't believe, then you think about and discuss it, of course.
So can you give us some insight how a negotiation takes place for a contract?
For a contract?
That you really want?
It depends, because I made a new contract with, for example, a first-team player with Austria Wien without an agent.
Okay.
I was sitting, drinking a coffee.
Yes.
Hey, come to my office because I have my own coffee machine, and the players already know. I gave him a coffee. Let's talk about the numbers. I was like, let's make 2 years, 3 years. Yeah, 3. When the numbers like this, yeah, okay, spam.
Sign.
Deal. But this is not how it happens normally. It was one time it happened like this. And coincidentally, now we signed a new contract with him, but we haven't announced it so far with this player. Now he had an agent, and we were dealing with the agent. You have your expectations on the new contract, on the numbers,
yes,
on the duration, of course, on some different bonuses, on some participations or whatever. There are so many different aspects a contract can have or not. Some are easy, some contracts are so complicated because agents want to have this and this and this and this and this and this and this. But some drafts of contracts are that easy. But then it goes on and back, and it goes always like ping pong. And at the end, you find an agreement or not.
It has to be a win-win, because normally sometimes they say
yes, and sometimes they're really tough, those negotiations. Sometimes you quit the negotiations, and for 1 or 2 weeks you don't talk to each other because you're a bit angry from both sides. At the end, when you find an agreement, this is what I can say from my experience with every agent, even when it were the toughest negotiations. When you sign, you give your hands, give you a hug, and it was tough negotiations, but it was a good deal. This is what I always had, to be honest. With every agent, at the end, even the negotiations were really tough, we always have, I think, a correct and fair relationship. This is, I think, also very important.
Absolutely.
Very important.
So now let's talk about, we're coming slowly to the end. So that's why I would like to ask you about data and artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is your opinion about those things?
I would say I'm a technical child because I love dealing with gadgets and the newest invitations we have in our world. Mm-hmm. But of course, even in the football world, there's a lot going on right now. Data isn't something new. I'm always wondering when people think, you and your data, and I said, this is normal. You know it from your experience. You put on your tracker for every training, for every session. We receive a lot of data points. We can figure out a lot from the physical side, from the football side, from the event side. So we know a lot, and that's why we want to push these things forward in the club. We have a full-time data analyst, which is nothing normal, I would say. And we have some nice projects in the pipeline. And yes, we want to push those things because data is a helping tool. It's not that I would say, my eyes and everything of my experience with my team around is not that important. Data is everything. No, that's not true. I think making the right decisions, data can help, and data helps making the right decisions. Because when I look back to games on a game day, and you're always emotional, and you always have a different view to games. Sometimes you win and think, it was not a good game, and the day after you receive data, you have another look at the best 20 to 50 scenes of the game, and then you say, without emotion, it looked way better than I thought it is, and having those data with counter pressures, F2, it was way better than I thought. And I think this is important to get a clear view on the game. It was not possible 20 or 25 years ago. Now it is. And I think it's important even to be fair to the players, be fair to the coaches. I think it helps raising fairness.
Absolutely. Because you see also who works in the training a bit more than the other. But
in some aspects, it's tough, especially for referees.
Yes.
You have more angles, more pictures, But sometimes I would say it's more fair when it comes to talking about a player. Even when we discuss players, it's not like, I would say the player has this positive and his negative skill. No, it's not possible anymore. With all those possibilities right now we have in modern football, it's not like the opinions are from black to white. No, this is not what's happening right now. It's more like, you're more aligned.
This is about artificial intelligence.
I gave it a try already sometimes when it comes to drafting letters or something like this. I gave it already a try. I had a chat with our data analyst some days ago because he's he's even right now studying and finishing his study at the TU. So he's dealing with the most intelligent persons we have here in this country, and all those aspects he receives from this side, we try to bring in, of course. And if you like it or not, you have to deal with it.
Yes.
If you like it or not.
The faster you learn it, I think, the better it's going to be for you.
Exactly.
So now my last question from the first part, because I have a little surprise, is what advice would you give to young football players? who start and they share the same dream as you did?
I would say, like in every aspect in life, it's not a shame to have a helping hand. I think it's very important to have a helping hand in your life, to have the right helping hand, of course. It's like raising a child. I would always say, I want to give my boy the feeling there's this hand around. Sometimes I have to push him a bit. Yes. Sometimes I have to pull him back but he should get the feeling, this helping hand of my dad is always around. He has to make his own experiences, of course. And same is in the career. I had the luck that, especially my parents were, don't get me wrong, not so important when it comes to decisions in my career. They were always in the back, but I had the feeling, they are there. And I could take my own decisions, which is very important, very, very important. Because sometimes the blocker are the parents.
Yes.
And I did not have those blockers. My parents were not the blocker in my life. My parents are, even right now, when we need help here in Vienna, because I'm from Upper Austria, and we need help with our boy because he's ill or whatever, and we have to go to work, they come and help us. And this is the feeling you need even as a player, especially in the stage when it goes from youth football to adult football. This is the stage that is the most important in your career, if you make it or not. Because afterwards, when you don't really make it it doesn't happen with 24, 25. Sometimes, yes, there are those magical stories, football rights, but it's not the norm right now that when you're 25, you can still make a career in professional football. No. So that's why I think, especially in this stage, you need people, the right people, giving you the right advice around. But at the end, you need in your this inner drive. Doesn't matter what the coach right now is saying, what my parents are saying, what friends are saying. If I want to run through this wall, I will run through this wall. Thank you, it's nice, but yes. I will run through this wall. These people will be successful in football, will be successful in life.
You have this fire inside.
This fire, this hunger. And the biggest issue, of course, I would say right now we have here in Austria, in the middle of Europe, to create this hunger in paradise. Because when I have a look at my boy, how he's now growing up, in which environment he's growing up, it's really tough to
motivate him.
And not motivate, but to see, hey, I have to fight for success.
Yes.
Success is not that's coming easily sitting on the couch. No. You have to fight for it. And this is the biggest issue in raising children, educating and developing young players. This is the biggest issue, apart from playing a 40-meter pass that is on point or having the best first touch you can imagine. This is also important. But more important are those skills when you have to go through darker days in your career, yes. Work like a beast. I always say to young players when they have issues not playing, for example, in a team, then I always asking, if I would ask the assistant coach, the staff manager, the team manager, one of your colleagues, the physiotherapist, would they say about you today that you are the hardest working player in your team? Give me an answer. And very often they're sitting, and then I say, look, that's why you're not playing. Maybe that's why your career is stucking. I have never ever seen, if you have in a selected teams, like when you are in the under 18 of Austria, from Ried, from Sturm Graz, and everyone around is saying, this player is the hardest working player, and he's already in this team, that he's not becoming a pro. I give you my hand. Yes. If he stays healthy, of course,
yes,
he will become a pro. 100,000%, he will become a pro when he's the hardest working player in the team. If you are the 5th or 6th hardest working player, it's more about, it's luck. Luck is rising.
When you work hard, you create your luck. Or the chance to get there, it's higher. The second part of the interview, I have prepared 5 questions. You just have to answer by saying one word or a phrase. Okay?
What are the 3
qualities for a central back that he needs to have or she needs to have in order to make it to the top?
3 Ks. I think I learned it in German. It's like konzentriert, konsequent und kompromisslos. This is the advice I received once as a center defender. Konzentriert, konsequent, kompromisslos. The 3 Ks. Konzentriert, konsequent, kompromisslos.
Very cool.
This is it.
So who was the biggest or your hardest opponent you faced during your career? And who was your best teammate that you played with?
The hardest, I would say, in Champions League, the games I played against Hulk and players like this. I have his jersey at home, but because they are world-class players.
Yes.
But the best player I played with is also very hard to figure out because some were so good but didn't even become a pro and even not had a big career but were such a good player. As I said before, I have such a big respect of the career of David Alaba. This is insane. Insane what he...
Because you know the whole journey.
It's insane. And I was so angry 2 or 3 years ago when sometimes media was discussing about, is he that good? And I said, are you kidding me? He's every 3 days he's playing at this level in one of the toughest clubs, Bayern Munich. Now he's playing at the biggest club in the world. Actually. And he won everything. He was playing all the time. Are you kidding me?
But okay, that's media also. So what transfer now as a sporting director are you the most proud of? And which transfer is the one that never happened?
No, I can't say because there are some of the players playing now for our biggest opponent here in Vienna, and we're very close. It's not fun, of course. I was really proud of transfer. No, it's wrong question. I would answer it different. I'm always happy when we realize signing a young talent and win him for a new contract that he believes in the club. It looks very easy from the outside, but if a young player makes 5 to 10 games in the first team, he's talented and plays in the under 18, under 21 national team, and you win him signing a new contract. No, it's not easy. It's really tough. I'm really happy about those signings. Not bringing him an external player is also always nice, and we are happy, but winning the homegrown players, believing in the journey, this is the best. Yeah.
A hard question is going to come to you now. Who is your most favorite player from the current squad?
Oh, it's tough. But I'm really happy we signed Abubakar Berry because I think the fans will agree. He's this kind of player you like to watch him. You come to the stadium, and he's even not at his best because he has to adapt to the league. But he's doing well. He's a great human. He's a super person. He's working hard. He's very talented, and he has this easiness in his game. You know what I mean? This easiness. You see you smiling already because I talk about him, and you see him smiling. I love watching him right now. I love the whole squad, but you told me I have to pick one. I would say right now it's him.
Cool.
He's a good human. That's why also I think I would pick him.
If you had to dine with one person from the sports world.
From the sports world?
Who would it be?
That's a good question. You should have sent me the questions before.
This is one I didn't write it. It just came up.
Football or sports?
Sports world in general. Maybe he's not alive anymore.
I would say Michael Jordan. I would say Michael Jordan, yeah. There are other sportsmen that really inspire me. I'm a big fan of Federer and Nadal. Nadal, he gave us a video message to our wedding.
Nice.
We are still proud of because he's also a great sportsman. But I would say Michael Jordan because even what happened afterwards and with his brand, what Nike did with the Jordan brand, I think he has a lot to tell. And even his career, when you see the Netflix series, I had even tears in my eyes when I watched the Netflix series.
Insane.
Crazy. I would have thousands of questions. I think he had a crazy life.
And also there is one movie about how he got the contract in Nike. I don't know if
I saw it.
Okay.
I saw it, of course.
I got it too. And the last one is, what is your personal goal?
My personal goal?
The next few years.
I have so many ideas and I hope I find the time to live and work on those ideas. Of course, I like my job right now. I really, really like it. To be honest, I would love to do it as long as possible. And I hope that we have a period ahead that it's a bit easier in the daily life because all those issues regarding especially the financial aspects, it's not easy, the daily life. I would be happy for all the people working for Austria Vienna that the day will come that we can live a normal daily life, of course in a big club in Austria, because this is really, really tough. So the last 3.5 years were really, really tough for me. But I love what I do. Every day in the morning, I'd like to jump into the car
Yes.
and drive towards the stadium. And when I enter the garage and go upstairs to my office and see the people, I think it's really something I'm very, very, very proud of, because I really love to work for the club. And yeah, would love to continue working, of course. But the day when they will come that you see me in different roles somewhere else, and I'm looking forward to the future. I'm not afraid of the future. I think this is very important. Do not be afraid of the future. This is something I also want to teach my boy. Don't be afraid of the future. Even sometimes when I read media and everything, the future is not bright for our children. I don't like this attitude. This is not the attitude I have in mind. So.
I just hope that maybe we see Austria Wien qualifying in the Champions League, because I'm sure that this is going to solve some of the financial problems.
Of course, it's good for
the team does really well in the
football.
league.
Everything is possible.
So,
everything.
yes.
Both directions, of course.
I like to believe in that kind of things. Maybe an underdog that is in the beginning of the season were not planning to be so high.
Yeah, but they have to stay cool.
Yes.
Something I learned in football is, hey, stay cool, stay cool.
Yes. That would be all. Thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing all this knowledge and wisdom with us.
You're welcome.
I wish you
Enjoyed
all
it.
the best.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.